Today, we're going to jump into an ancient poem, Psalm 5. But we're not just looking at it as some old religious text. Nope. We're going to unpack it as this really timeless piece about very human emotions, a journey that literally starts in a place of deep distress and finds its way to this incredible sense of hope.
And the whole thing kicks off right here, in the quiet of the morning. You know, this isn't some big public speech. It's an intimate, personal moment. The writer is just laying it all out there. And then, waiting. There's this real vulnerability, this sense of anticipation in these words, that just sets the stage for everything that's about to unfold.
So right away, the scene is set. The first couple of lines are this direct, almost urgent plea for help. And notice, the speaker isn't being vague here. They use these specific titles, my king and my God. This immediately establishes a personal relationship, a direct line. This isn't just a cry out into the universe. It's a call to someone they know, someone they expect to actually listen. Okay, so to really get what's going on here, we need to know this word, lament. The psalm actually uses this word in the very first verse. See, a lament isn't just about being sad. It's a structured, really passionate way of expressing grief, and it's always tied to an appeal for help. It's kind of a formal way of saying, things are really bad, and I need you to do something about it. This gives us the framework for the whole emotional ride of the psalm. All right, so after that personal appeal, the psalmist starts to build their case. And to do that, they draw some really clear, stark moral battle lines. It's a classic move, right? To define who you're with, you first have to define who you're against. And check out how they do this. The psalmist defines God's character by talking about what God is not. The text says, "You are not a God who is pleased with wickedness. With you, evil people are not welcome." This is so much more than just a statement about good versus evil. It's a strategic argument. It's like the psalmist is saying, hey, we're on the same side. The things I'm up against are the very things you can't stand. So who are these enemies exactly? Well, the psalm gets super specific. It's the arrogant who can't stand in God's presence. It's liars, the bloodthirsty, the deceitful. The writer is painting this really detailed picture of their opponents, spelling out their character flaws. It makes that moral divide crystal clear.
And all of this leads us to a huge theme in the psalm, this idea that there are two totally different ways to live your life, two distinct paths. And most importantly, these two paths lead to two very, very different places. It's a moral fork in the road.
And here is the contrast, plain as day. While the arrogant get cast out, the psalmist's path is all about humility and reverence. They're not claiming they have a right to be there. No, they can only approach by your great love. It's a position of total dependence, not pride.
Wow. And to show just how destructive that other path is, look at this imagery. It is so visceral. Their throat is an open grave. This is saying that their words aren't just words. They're literally forces of death and decay. It's this incredibly powerful metaphor showing that the enemy's very being is a source of corruption, and it all starts with the lies they tell.
So this slide really just lays it all out in black and white. It shows you the stakes. For the deceitful, for the liars, the end of the road is destruction. But for the righteous, for those who take refuge in God, the destiny is the complete opposite: gladness, joy, singing. The psalmist is making it very clear what the ultimate consequences are for choosing a path.
And everything we've talked about so far, the lament, the moral arguments, the two paths, it's all been building to this one point, the emotional climax of the entire psalm. This is where the writer stops just describing the problem and starts demanding the solution.
Which brings us to the big question, right? After all of this buildup, what is the specific request? What does the psalmist want God to actually do about these enemies? And let me tell you, it's not a gentle suggestion. Here it is. The request is raw, and it is incredibly harsh. Declare them guilty. Let their own schemes be what destroys them, and finally, banish them. There's no hint of mercy here. This is a cry for absolute, unfiltered justice. It's a plea for the wicked to face the full consequences of what they've done.
But, and this is so important, the psalm doesn't end in that place of anger and vengeance. It builds to this final dramatic shift in tone. After that intense plea for justice, the whole emotional landscape just changes, from fear and anger to confidence and joy. It's almost like, having asked for justice, the psalmist just confidently assumes it's going to happen. The focus immediately pivots to what happens to the faithful.
The last verses aren't about the enemy's destruction anymore. They're a full-on celebration of God's protection for everyone who takes refuge in Him.
And this is the final, lasting image of the whole poem. A shield. What a metaphor, right? It's about complete 360-degree protection. It's not just a helping hand, it's this all-encompassing defense. The journey that started with a vulnerable, whispered prayer in the morning ends with this powerful declaration of absolute security.
And that leaves us with a final thought. This ancient text frames its solution with the image of a divine shield against lies and violence. It kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our own world, which is full of its own conflicts and uncertainties, what does that shield look like, and where do people find it today?